He's a victim. He's a crybaby.
Dana White is there, and he just says to me, "You're out. Get out of here."
I don't give a shit what Ariel Helwani thinks.
Fair enough.
Who the f*** is Ariel Helwani?
Ariel Helwani did not hold back this week, blasting Dana White with a fiery response that had fans calling it one of the boldest moments in recent MMA media. Ariel straight up said Dana's comments weren't just wrong, they were hypocritical, and he laid out exactly why in a way that had the entire community buzzing. But while that drama was unfolding outside the cage, things somehow got even crazier inside the fight world. Out of nowhere, Glover Teixeira snapped back at Khamzat Chimaev after Khamzat claimed he could fight Glover and Alex at the same time. Glover didn't just disagree, he dropped one of the most intense warnings we've ever heard from him, something that instantly sent fight Twitter into full meltdown mode. And Khamzat? He fired right back with a troll job only he would pull. Make sure you subscribe to MMA Desk and let's dive right in the video. When the tension between Khamzat Chimaev, Glover Teixeira, and Alex Pereira started heating up, it happened so quickly that fans barely had time to understand why everyone was suddenly going after each other. It all started when Khamzat made a bold claim during an interview, saying he could fight both Alex and Glover at the exact same time. Most fighters don't even talk like that for fun, so people were shocked he said it so casually, as if it was something normal.
Called you beat Pereira? Of course, brother. I called beat him with his coach. What is his name?
Alex brushed it off at first, but then he shot back by challenging Khamzat to a straight grappling match, basically saying, if you really want smoke, prove it on the mats. But Glover Teixeira wasn't joking at all. Glover is normally calm and respectful, but he snapped in a way fans rarely see. He warned that if Khamzat ever tried to pull anything in a hotel lobby or anywhere else, he'd snatch the life out of him. That line spread everywhere within minutes, because nobody expects the soft-spoken former champion to talk like that. And of course, Khamzat fired right back in his own style. Instead of arguing with words, he went online and posted a picture of Glover getting punched years ago, calling him uncle and saying he needed rehab. He even made a fake poster of him fighting Alex Pereira, saying it would be easy money. Fans instantly started arguing about who crossed the line first, who was serious, and whether this beef was real or just hype. Still, the energy didn't die down. Instead, it made UFC fans wonder if these matchups might actually happen one day, because even when the fighters were joking, the tone underneath sounded personal, and everybody could feel it. And just like that, a random comment turned into one of the most talked about exchanges of the entire week.
Carlos, please explain why you have Leon Edwards in your background.
I don't know, I do that since when I was fighting in Brazil, because I think I like to keep focus on my opponent, you know, I think the place where I mostly look during the day is my phone.
Carlos Prates also found himself in the middle of a storm, but his was a different kind. He wasn't dealing with jokes or trash talk, he was dealing with how he felt the MMA world had turned on him. After he lost to Ian Gary, he said people started acting like he wasn't serious about the sport anymore. They said he partied too much, drank too much, and didn't train the way a real contender should. Carlos explained he felt like fans judged him unfairly because they only saw the loss and not the real work behind the scenes. He said he trained harder than ever to prove he wasn't done. He wanted the world to see that he could still fight at the highest level. When he talked about Leon Edwards, he didn't hold back. He said Leon's body could be broken and his mind could be broken even faster. He said he wanted to go out there and knock him out so clean that nobody would ever question him again. Carlos believed that beating a former champion would finally make people respect his name and see him as a real force in the division. He said it didn't matter what the rankings were or who was technically ahead of him.
Particularly, he kind of struggled with the wrestling Ian, and I mean, you're an even better wrestler than Ian. I mean, probably
way better than Ian. Yeah, 100%. So
I'll probably just say, hey, go the easier way and just make a big wrestling heavy game plan.
I couldn't do that, but I feel like for me to get back to where I want to get to, I don't feel like me going to just line on him.
He said the fans paid money to watch fighters go at it with energy and violence, not 25 minutes of two guys hugging against the cage. So for him, UFC 322 wasn't just another fight. It was the fight that would show the world he was still dangerous, still hungry, and still chasing the belt no matter what anyone said. The tension also reached the world of MMA media when Ronda Rousey made comments about Joe Rogan, saying he was just a fan with an audience and not a real expert because he never fought professionally. Joe heard those comments and responded calmly and respectfully. He said Ronda was a legend and did more for women's MMA than anyone before her. He reminded everyone that Dana White used to say he'd never have women fight in the UFC until Ronda changed his mind. Joe didn't attack her or bring negativity. Instead, he talked about how he understood why she felt that way, because high-level athletes often believe only fighters can truly understand the sport.
I actually get where she's coming from with Rogan, right? Because, like, he's not a fighter, you know? Neither's John Anik. And, you know, like, so I actually kind of get that part. I don't know why she was hating on Joe Rogan, though.
His response was surprising because people expected him to clap back harder, but instead, he gave praise and explained things in a cool, level-headed way. That stood out in a week filled with harsh words and heated back-and-forth moments. At the same time, Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo got into their own disagreement on their podcast. They were arguing about who had more to gain in the Islam versus Jack Della fight. Usman said Islam had more on the line because if he won, he'd tie the longest win streak in UFC history. Cejudo disagreed, saying Jack had more to gain because beating someone from Khabib's lineage would be huge. The argument got louder and more intense because each of them kept pushing their own point. Usman said this wasn't about Khabib, it was about Islam's journey. Cejudo said you couldn't separate the two because of how connected their stories were. Meanwhile, Bo Nickel talked about how his recent TKO loss motivated him instead of crushing him. And on top of all that, Ariel Helwani responded hard to Dana White's comments about money ruining fighters. Ariel said Dana was being hypocritical and pointed out that fighters often don't get paid enough, while Dana himself became extremely wealthy from the sport.
My understanding is this is on the FBI's radar. How deep of an investigation is unclear at this time. This is all very new, but yes, it is accurate. I believe there's a gentleman named Harry Mack on social media who is having a nice little victory tour after all of this.
His reaction was one of the boldest moments of the week, and fans exploded with opinions. In the end, this entire week showed just how wild, unpredictable, and emotional the MMA world can get. Fighters were snapping back at each other, old arguments came back to life, new rivalries suddenly formed out of nowhere, and even people outside the cage like Ariel Helwani and Dana White were right in the middle of heated moments. From Glover's warning to Khamzat, to Leon and Carlos trading sharp messages, to huge names like Jon Jones and Islam Makhachev creating new headlines, it felt like every part of the sport was shaking at the same time. And what made it even crazier was how quickly everything changed. One comment online could start a whole firestorm. One interview could shift how fans saw a fighter. One prediction could spark a new debate. It all blended together into this non-stop wave of energy that made UFC 322 feel bigger and more intense than ever. And if this is what the week before the event looks like, the actual fights might take things even further. So if you want to stay updated on every twist, every call out, every rivalry, and every shocking moment in the MMA world, make sure you hit that subscribe button to MMA Desk so you never miss what happens next.
Well, get me back to real and get too faster, you know. So let's see. It's a mixed martial arts fight, obviously. And I'll test his skills everywhere the fight goes, you know.
Leon Edwards didn't let those comments slide. When he responded, his voice was calm, but there was a sharp edge underneath it. He said Carlos might feel confident and talk tough, but when the cage door closes, he's going to get hit with a reality check. Leon explained that while Carlos thinks he can break his mind, he doesn't realize how much experience Leon has staying calm in tough moments. Leon went through years of pressure, setbacks, and huge fights to get where he is. He said Carlos only sees the outside, not the battles that shaped him into a world-class athlete. Leon also pointed out that Carlos didn't look that impressive in some past fights. He said Ian Gary already beat him, and in his last fight, Carlos had success only because Jeff Neal fought in a strange, slow way. Leon made it clear that he doesn't see Carlos as someone on his level, skill-wise or mentally. He said on fight night, Carlos is going to understand the difference between a confident fighter and a complete fighter. Leon wasn't loud or dramatic about it. It was the kind of response that almost felt scarier because of how controlled it was. His message was simple. Carlos was talking about breaking someone mentally, but he wasn't prepared for the skill, timing, and patience Leon brings into every fight. He said Carlos was in for a rude awakening and that the cage doesn't care about tough talk when you're standing across from someone who's been in deep waters again and again. Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev was caught in a strange mix of attention after a grip strength test video went viral. At first, it looked like Islam might have broken the all-time ESPN record held by Khalil Rountree. Ali Abdelaziz jumped online saying Islam had smashed the record. Fans were going crazy thinking Islam, a lightweight, had outpowered one of the strongest guys in the UFC, but then the truth came out. The numbers didn't actually break Khalil's score. Ali had the wrong info, so he posted again saying his mistake. And even though Islam didn't break the record, people still couldn't believe how strong he was for his weight. But that wasn't the end of the drama linked to Islam this week. Alexander Volkanovski surprised fans by saying he still respects Islam a lot and would even love to train with him someday. This is despite losing to him twice and helping Jack Della Maddalena prepare to fight him. And then Max Holloway entered the conversation with one of the boldest predictions of the week. He said he could see Jack TKOing Islam in the third round because of Jack's accuracy, size, and solid takedown defense. It was one of those moments where everyone paused, because when Max talks about striking, people usually listen. So suddenly fans were arguing online about whether Islam could handle Jack's pressure, whether Max was too confident in Jack, and whether the lightweight champ was about to face the biggest threat of his career. While the fighters were talking, Jon Jones decided to drop a surprise of his own. He released a dramatic, patriotic video talking about America turning 250 years old in 2026. The video had this serious tone, almost like a movie trailer, and he hinted at something massive happening that year. Fans immediately began guessing whether he meant a UFC event at the White House or some huge outdoor arena. Jon didn't name any opponents or locations clearly, but he kept saying the country was built on courage and conflict, and that the best way to honor that spirit was through a huge fight card. People started making theories that maybe he'd return for a super fight, or maybe he was teasing a special card featuring only American fighters. Nobody knew for sure. But the video got everyone talking about what Jon had planned. Some fans thought it was pure hype, but others felt like Jon wouldn't tease something so big unless he was serious. The whole thing added another layer to an already wild week in the MMA world. Valentina Shevchenko added her own energy to the week when she talked about her upcoming fight. She made it clear she wasn't expecting anything easy. She said she was preparing for a war and that she knew the holes and weaknesses she planned to use in the fight, but nothing in MMA was guaranteed. She spoke with confidence, like someone who has been in big battles many times, but she also didn't underestimate her opponent. Valentina said she knew exactly what she needed to do, but she wasn't pretending it would be simple. She talked about training hard and being ready for every possible situation that could happen inside the cage. Fans liked how honest she was. She wasn't bragging or trash talking. She was focused, sharp, and sounded like a fighter ready to leave everything inside the octagon. It reminded everyone why she's been one of the most respected fighters in the sport for so long.